We're late. We're a little bit later than we expected to be, for which I really apologise. I had some technical issues in the background. Michael was here. It was me getting set up, but I'm going to be talking to Michael Sterling in a minute. I'm going to do my normal thing. I'm going to talk for a second till I know we're live. Now I can see that on LinkedIn. Let's bring that up on my screen. I'm going to ask you to do me the same favour as I always ask when I'm doing broadcasts like this. If you're here, if you're watching, let me know in the comments below. If you've got any comments about outreach, about telemarketing, about telesales, about appointment setting, if you've got any comments like that, then Michael Sterling is the guy to ask when I bring him on. I'm just going to do the other bit as well so that I can bring your comments up on screen. But if you are here and if you're watching, pop a comment in below, say hello to us so that I know you're here. I'm going to be talking to Michael Sterling in a moment. He's the guy who knows about outreach. We all use a load of inbound techniques in our marketing to try and get people to get in touch with us. Michael's the guy who understands how to outreach, how to get in touch with other people, how to use outbound forms of marketing to get in touch with our potential clients and get in front of them. I'm going to bring Michael up on the screen now. Hey Michael, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing super well and glad to be here today on this Tuesday.
I What people don't get to see is my momentary panic before you and me became live about how why I couldn't get the cameras set up, but we got there in the end. So for the benefit of the people who are watching, just explain a little bit about what it is that you do, Michael.
Definitely. So I run MS Marketing, and we're a appointment setting new business development agency. And we work with different B2B service providers mostly, and some marketing, creative, and advertising agencies, just helping them to get in touch with their ideal clients and really very much top of the funnel, getting people interested in what they do so that they can go and speak to them and land some of those people as their clients.
So without giving away sort of all of your trade secrets, in the background, what do you actually do for your clients? Is this using the telephone to contact people? Is it about using email or in-mail outreach? What's your speciality?
So we do a lot of email outreach for our clients, and we do some also LinkedIn, but mostly for engagement. So actually engaging with different potential clients and making them see our name as much as possible, basically. But to reach out to people, we found that email is an effective tool because that's where people spend their time. That's where they're in and day out. That's where they communicate with their team, with their staff. And so we really focus on targeting them with a very specific personalized message. It has to be really tailored. Otherwise it just won't work.
I think that's where I spot a load of people going wrong. And I don't think you and I have ever talked about this because I get so many identikit sort of outreaches from people that you can tell that it's not personalised at all, that they haven't even paid any attention to my business. Is that sort of highly personalised approach, highly personal approach, is that the thing that really works in 2022?
Yes, I think that, it's not 2008 anymore. So just blasting out a bunch of emails to people won't work anymore. It's all about finding relevant people to what you do, and then actually going through them, going through their companies, finding something interesting that you can comment on. Find some kind of commonality that you might have or why your service is actually relevant to them, and then just reaching out with just short personal messages to start conversations. You're not selling in the emails. They haven't met you yet. It's all about getting people curious, and wanting and getting them to want to have a conversation with you. Again, it's all about starting those conversations with the people that you want to talk to.
If you catch me looking down, it's because I, as well as you know from just before we went live, I run the tech on this as well as actually talking to you. So I was just making sure that you're tagged in the right places and that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
Everything that you're talking about must take some time then, because and it's interesting. You and I have never talked in this detail before, but you're talking about going into quite a lot of detail before you get in touch with people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most of our team, so I do have about 3, 4 team members that assist me with our clients. And most of what I do and what they do is a lot of research. We actually go through companies one by one. We try to find something interesting about them, or something that can relate back to the service that we want to offer to them. And it's all about, again, like going through people, actually finding interesting information, and that takes some time, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do what we do, don't do it effectively, or don't want to do it.
I think that's why the approaches that I get are so impersonal. You absolutely know that people have paid no attention to who I actually am. Um, an example of that, I was an estate agent for 20 years, a real estate agent, and that finished in 2007. The number of approaches that I get offering me services for estate agents because people have just done a search and then some sort of mail merch to send me an in-mail message. It just, it gives away that people just haven't actually looked at my profile, and rightly or wrongly it puts me off because I immediately know that people haven't actually put any effort into building the relationship at all.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you really got to show people that you've done that extra work. You're going the extra mile for them, because they don't know you. They really don't have to reply to you. And so you really got to quickly show to them that this is directed at you. This is directed at your company, that they know what you do, that they have something relevant, that relevant to your position or your business, that they can offer. Otherwise, people just scan and delete this kind of thing. So you really got to be very quick and personal about it.
Yeah, I bet you do because we've all got the emails, the in-mails, and everything that we do scan and delete. I'm just going to do this for the benefit of anyone who doesn't already know Michael Sterling. This is where you'll find him on LinkedIn. If you're not already connected with Michael, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put Michael's link to his LinkedIn profile in the comments so that you can connect with him after this conversation or during this conversation. If you've got any questions, and I'm going to throw a few more questions at Michael as well, but if you've got any questions about outreach, about how to start those conversations in a meaningful way, then do pop your comments below and ask those questions. What I'm going to really quickly do is there's the link to Michael's LinkedIn right there so that you can see it. Why do you think that so many companies get it so badly wrong then, Michael? Do you think it is trying to shortcut it, trying to not taking enough time over their research? Why do you think that so many companies just look for the sort of easy way, which loses them so much business?
You know what? I think it's just ingrained in us to want to find, like, as human beings, to want to find a shortcut, to want to find that, that quick win, to find that, the one secret way that we can do it quicker than everybody else. And unfortunately, with this sort of thing, it takes time to do it. It takes time to reach out to people. It's also about volume. So you do have to reach out to quite a few people sometimes to get those replies. So it's almost like, you have to have a team member in your team doing it day in and day out, almost, and for months, sometimes, until you get actual results. But it is one of the legitimate ways to get in touch with people. So but people always look for shortcuts, and I think it's just in our nature to want to find something that's quick and easy to do, and it's just not the case.
We've just had a few people joining us. So if you have just joined us, I'm talking to Michael Sterling of MS Marketing. We're talking about outreach. We're talking about I do all of this. Whenever I talk to people about how to generate conversations coming into you. And this is why it's so interesting to talk to Michael, because he's the specialist in how to go out and actually approach people cold, approach people who don't know you. If you've got any questions about that, pop them in the comments below. Something that you just said, Michael, really interested me because you talked about volume, you talked about approaching people at scale. I always think this is somewhere where people do go slightly wrong because people say to me, "Yeah, but I sent an email to a guy and he never replied." It's not. Yeah, you're laughing, because it sounds so ridiculous. But people think that just if one person doesn't reply, that approach doesn't work. And you talked about volume, and the other thing you talked about was that this type might take months to actually have an impact.
Yes, like I mean, I have this all the time. People come to me and they say, "Oh, look, but I've done this before. Like I've done outreach, I've reached out to people on LinkedIn, email, and it just doesn't work for our business." And then I asked them like, "Okay, well, how many people did you reach out to?" And they said like, "Oh, 8." And I'm like, "Well, you've reached out to 8 people, like what did you expect? All of them to reply from the first try? You haven't followed up with them. You haven't tracked any metrics. Maybe a bunch of them went to your website." Like, it's about volume, but it's also not about blindly reaching out to tens of thousands of people or millions of people. Like, this is still targeted. So there's a volume aspect to it, but it still has to be targeted. It has to be personal. It has to be short. And you have to follow up with people too. Like, people are so busy these days, and we just get hit by so many things, like from the media, like from everywhere, really, from at home, TV, social media. I mean, we get hit by so many messages. And sometimes, plainly, if somebody even thought that your message resonated with them, they might have not replied because they just forgot about it. They forgot about it. And so they haven't replied. And so you really got to follow up with people, and do a bit of volume, because again, if you're just going to reach out to 5 people in a month, it's not really going to work.
I think that is a thing that people are so busy. I know that my inbox is mad, and I've been talking to some of the folks from Okema today, one of the companies that I work with, and their inbox is truly mad. You might just catch someone on a bad day, mightn't you? You might just catch someone when they've had 100 emails today or they've got something else to deal with. So it might be nothing to do with whether or not they're interested in your service. It was just that particular moment, the timing was wrong for them.
Yes, it might be about timing. Sometimes some people might take it out on you if you reach out to them on a bad day. Like, I always say to people, look, with outbound marketing, you can't really, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. Like, if somebody replies and they're angry, like, and you just send them a quick message, and they just replied, with an angry remark or something, it's not about you. You don't know what's happening in their life. You don't know if if their partner just said that they want to divorce them. You don't know if their dog just died. You don't know if they've been, their boss told them that they're not doing a great job. You don't know what's happening in their lives. So you should never think that it's about you, because most of the times it's not about you. And it's what's happening with people on the other end if you ever get like an angry message or anything.
Yeah, I guess I'm fortunate. I don't get many angry messages, but I do. I've been talking to people today who say that they worry if someone hasn't responded that they might become an annoyance if they send them another message. Now bear in mind, this is someone who's selling something that they know the other person needs to buy. What's What's your advice to someone who's feeling like that? Feeling that apart from the advice to use you, obviously, what would be your advice to someone who's worried about becoming annoying to a prospective client or customer?
To be honest, I think that it really depends where you are. Like we work with people in the US, UK, Australia, like other parts of the world as well. And so I give people different advice. Like if you're based in the UK or you're based in Australia, like just give people a few days, maybe like give them at least like 3 to 5 days, 2, 3, 4, 5 days until you follow up with them. So leave a bit of time. If you're in the US, you can, you're going to need to follow up a lot of the times. So for anybody who's listening who's based in the US, like people get hit with more and more marketing messages every day, way more than in the UK and in Australia. So there you're going to need to follow up quite a lot with people, but my advice is just leave it a bit of time, leave a bit of time between like the first time you reach out to them, second time, third time. So leave at least a few days, and then you should be good to go, because by that time they would have probably forgotten already about replying to your message.
I didn't realise it was culturally different, actually. I didn't realise that typically in America things are dealt with in a slightly different way. I guess I'm in the lucky position that most of my clients are within the UK and understand the UK, and some in Australia, as you know. Are there big cultural differences as you move between different territories in terms of how clients like to be sold to? Is it different wherever you go?
I think, you know what? I think it just comes down to people and how they are in different countries. So, like, for example, from my experience, again, I don't know if this is what everybody thinks. From my experience in the UK, people, you might need to be a little bit more soft when you're reaching out to people. So maybe you ask them whether they're interested in potentially speaking to you, or if it is a good fit potentially, rather than asking them for a time to chat. And in the US, we found that you do have to like ask people pretty directly, maybe because there are so many more marketing messages, in my opinion, there, and so much more outreach happening. And in Australia, to be honest, I do find that people are quite open to have a chat too. So I think that in the UK, you just have to be a little bit more soft with people, and take, like I said, take a bit of a softer approach rather than going in for the kill straight away.
I'm just on that. I'm just going to, for anyone who has just joined us, I'm talking to Michael Sterling. And if you don't already follow him, or if you're not already connected with him on LinkedIn, that's where you'll find Michael. I've put the link to his profile in the comments below. I'm not actually on camera at the moment, but I'm still pointing down at the comments. You just have to take that as read. I've put the link to Michael's profile in the comments below. If you're watching this and you're thinking about whether you should be reaching out to clients as well, if you've got any questions about how to do so, what's the best approach, stick them in the comments below as well, and we'll answer them live on screen. Do you think this is something, Michael, that people should start by doing themselves before they get in touch with a company like yours? Do you think there's a degree of what's the expression, bootstrapping it at the beginning, and seeing, or should people? And I know you'll always give a really truthful answer on this. Should people come straight to an organisation like yours if they're just not confident about being able to do it themselves?
Look, I think that you can be successful in anything, doing it yourself or doing it with a company, and you can be unsuccessful doing it yourself and doing it with a company as well. So I think that, it can be both ways. The only question is like, you're really going to think about like, do you have the skills? Are you willing to learn? This is a skill, right? You're going to have to, there's going to be, if you're going to be doing it yourself, there's going to be some learning curve. And it might be quite a long time. It might be 6 months, 12 months until you learn this skill and you get results. Or you might want to go to a specialist, and work with them directly. So I think that it just depends on where you are in your business. If you're at the stage in your business where your time is more valuable to spend on something else, maybe on managing the projects or working with clients or overall business strategy, rather than going in and managing outreach yourself, then maybe it might be a good time to get somebody to do it for you. And that can be an in-house person, or it can be working with a specialist like us. And if you are not at the stage where you're, if you are at the stage where you are doing everything yourself, then you can go ahead and do it yourself. So it just really depends on where you are with your business, and where you're getting paid the most for your time in your business.
Right, that's an interesting point. I mean, I deal with quite a lot of people who are employed in sales roles and therefore they're paid a salary already, and the company understands that it takes people time to learn the skills and gain the confidence to start actually making the sales. If you're running your own business, then the timescales can be a bit shorter, can't they? People need to start making sales and start getting the till ring and start getting money into the bank quite quickly. So in that sort of situation, I'm guessing it would be more sensible to reach out to someone like you who's already got the skills, maybe even at the same time as trying to learn them yourself. Would that make sense to work alongside a company like yours to get the sales in whilst you're building the skills yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, it might make sense. Like, we also do consulting for people who want to set this up in-house, long term. So that maybe it makes more sense for them to, like, for us to help them to learn this skill and utilize our strategies, and then maybe hire somebody in-house to do it for them. That could be another way you can work with us. Um, but again, I think it comes down where with to where you are in your business, what stage you're at. Like, do you have a team now? Is it more important for you to spend time on other things? And another question you should ask yourself, is this something you're interested in learning yourself? And is this something that you want to do yourself? Because if it's not, then it wouldn't make sense to do it yourself. Because it will take a long time to learn this skill. It's not something you can learn in a day or two. It will take some time. So if you don't want to do this, it might make more sense to work with somebody who already has this skill.
I I started my career selling things all the way back in 1983. Selling things was the first thing that I did, and then I went on to a career in a state agency, which was basically a sales role as well. I think you know this. I'm sure you know this, and I don't know whether it's just in England, but sometimes selling is a bit of a dirty word. People think that it's something that they don't sort of want to do or have to do or feel that it's a bit beneath them or something like that. I think a lot of people go into business with a great product or service, but not with the selling skills, and they might even be a bit squeamish about learning those skills along the way. Do you find that in other cultures? Is selling so? Um, are people so suspicious of selling as they are in England?
Yes, I think so. I mean, personally, I love sales. I think that it if you think you're not a seller already and you run your own business, you're just lying to yourself, because we are sellers in a lot of parts of our life already. If you're trying to convince your significant other to um, go out to a pub tonight, you're a seller. If you're trying to convince new clients to work with you, you're a seller. If you're trying to get your kid to go to bed, you're a seller. So it's just about admitting that you do this already to a certain degree. It's just, and the squeamish part, I think it just comes from those bad experiences that we might have had, going in the shopping mall and somebody trying to sign us up for a new broadband or internet or whatever it is. So, or people trying to convince us to donate on the street or something like that. So it just comes from those experiences. But if you face the truth, you are already a seller, especially if you run a business. I mean, sales is a huge part of what you do, because you need to bring the money in and you need to convince your clients to work with you and spend more in your business with your business. And so you're a seller already. So it's just about, admitting that you already are one.
Yeah, now I just want to go to the pub tonight. I want to go downstairs and try and persuade Sharon that's a good idea. Now you've mentioned that, but I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's one of the things that I always say to people. It's not even about persuading people, but it is about giving people the opportunity to choose for themselves. And if we're not telling people in a sensible way about what we do, we're not giving people that opportunity to choose for themselves. You know, because you and I work together, that one of the expressions that I use all the time is that every big opportunity starts with a little conversation. And one of the things that I really like to remind myself on the days when maybe I'm not feeling it quite as much is that my best clients, my favorite clients, the people I really enjoy working with, and it's a mutually profitable relationship, that started with me reaching out to them at some point. And I always like to, even when I used to have to sit down and do 30 phone calls to make appointments back in another career, always used to remind myself that the clients that I really enjoyed going to see started with just one of those phone calls back in the day. But you do get some no's along the way as well, don't you? How do you think, if people are starting to do this for themselves, do people just need to build themselves a thicker skin, or how should people deal with the no's and rejections along the way?
You know what? I think it's an interesting question. I think that rejection is a part of life. I mean, you really have to accept that is that, you're gonna face some no's in your lifetime. You're gonna have people that are not gonna work with you for one reason or the other. And so you really just have to accept it. And another good way to think about it is every no gets you closer to a yes. So that's another thing, the way you can think of it. But I think that for me, like I've already accepted that like rejection is just a part of life. Not everybody's gonna work with you. Not everybody's gonna want to be a friend, even. So it's not just about selling. It's about life. Rejection is a part of life.
I wonder if there are ways that more people can get their head around that. Let me just do this again. If you've just joined us, and I can see that we have got people who've just joined us, this is who I'm speaking to, Michael Sterling of MS Marketing. We're talking about outreach, we're talking about how to get in touch with people who aren't your clients yet, how to get in touch with people who don't even know about your company or service yet. If you've got any questions about any of this, any of what we're talking about, do pop them in the comments below. We'll answer them live. If you're watching this on replay, still pop your comments below. I'll tag Michael and we'll get an answer for you along the way. Where's the best place for people to connect with you, Michael? Where do you tend to hang out in terms of social media and so on? Where's the best place for people to find you and connect with you?
Oh, LinkedIn is definitely a great place. I'm quite active on the platform, so always happy to connect with people, and quite open to it.
Do you think LinkedIn's become more important in people's outreach over the last few years or over the last couple of years?
You know what? LinkedIn is going in an interesting direction. I think that the platform is becoming a bit more like a content driven platform rather than people reaching out in their inbox. And this could be perhaps because of the direction that LinkedIn is taking. But I think that now it's a bit more about like people posting and engaging with each other and comments and then maybe taking things off the platform a little bit when it's time to connect or have a Zoom chat or have an email conversation, whatever it is. So, but LinkedIn still remains a great platform for research. So, if you wanted to find your potential clients, if you want to find information about them, if you wanted to find where they work, who it is, their details, they are on LinkedIn. So, it's a great platform to do some research, find your potential clients. Is it the best platform to reach out to them? Perhaps if they're active, but if they're active on the platform, it's also a great way to LinkedIn is a great way to engage with them and for them to see your name popping up, gains some of that familiarity with you. Um, but I think that overall LinkedIn is going in the direction of being more of a content platform where a lot of people are posting and engaging with each other rather than direct messaging platform.
So that's why I get on with you so well, because you and I talk about the same language. It's so much easier to get in touch with someone cold if you've been commenting on their posts for the last couple of months, because then you're not a stranger if you've been engaging with them. And the other thing is, when I first became an estate agent in 1988, we had all of these questions that we would ask people to find out that stuff that we might have in common, to find out that stuff that we could talk to with them about. But these days, even before you speak to someone, you can go and look at their LinkedIn profile, and you probably know which university they went to and where they've worked before and what part of the country they live in. You've got all of this information about people that if you just put literally a few minutes in, you can find out all of that stuff that people used to ask. I know we've got a question. Oh, it's Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Sharon's asked, yeah, what are the ways in which you try to start a relationship with potential clients? If you were to recommend, is there a best way of starting a relationship with potential clients, Michael?
You know what? I think that I actually wanted to expand on what you said. I like the
Go
thing
on,
that you
go
said about
ahead.
commonalities. I think that people should always start with the low hanging fruit. So these are people that you have something in common with. So that could be you went to the same school, you live in the same place, you belong to the same group, business, or personal life. You know similar people, you have similar interests. Whatever it is, I think that it's always best to start working on developing connections with people that you already have something in common before you start going after complete strangers. Another thing that could be good is finding people that are very relevant to what you do. So if you are selling video production, then your best fit is going to be people who are marketing people or owners of businesses that understand the power of video. If you're selling some sort of services related to merchandising, maybe it might be best to reach out to directors of merchandising. So just start with people that you have something in common with, or with people that your service is very, very relevant to.
It's an incredible point, because people, I don't know whether it's not knowing how to use the tools or not wanting to put the time in, but this is something that I do, and putting it out there, because now I'm going to talk about it, people will know what I do. Usually before I speak to someone, whether they've approached me or whether I'm about to approach them, I'll go off and I'll definitely find them on LinkedIn. I'll probably see if I can find them on Instagram and Facebook as well, because that stuff that you've just talked about, Michael, I might find that a month ago they made a post on Facebook saying that they were watching the rugby, or that they were into a particular rock band that I know something about. And it just gives you a warm way to start the conversation, doesn't it? For putting that little bit of research in, and finding that stuff out about people.
100%. I mean, doing your research is very important. This is something we've talked about today already. That's what we do with myself and my team members. We research people before we reach out to them, so that it's very relevant. And yeah, finding commonalities is huge, and it's just so important to find something that is you have something in common with, or maybe that again your service is very relevant to what they do. It's the same space, it's the same industry that you worked in, so always try to find that.
So I'm going to go back to Sharon's question now. There we go. Let's pop that up on screen. So once you've found that stuff in common with people, is there a best way to send that first approach with them? Is there a best way to try and start that relationship with them? And I think we're talking in terms of the actual practical ways: email, InMail, LinkedIn, telephone, so on. Is there a best way to start it?
To be honest, it really depends on your strategy, how important the connection is to you, and what you're looking to do here. So Firstly, you can just reach out to that person with a short personal message, and that could be on LinkedIn or email. If you are reaching out to somebody, I'd probably recommend email straight away. Um, if this is a very valuable connection, and this is a person who's very much in demand, let's say it's a CMO of some sort of company that you would love to work with, that would be your super ideal client. So then maybe you want to spend some time following them on LinkedIn if they're active, commenting them on their posts, engaging with them, just basically making them see your name pop up for a bit before you reach out to them. And then after that, you can actually go and reach out to them via email or other methods, whatever you prefer. You can call them, email them, message them on LinkedIn, whatever it is that you want to do. So it just really depends. Like you can either take the approach of, like you said, engaging with them first for some time, or you could reach out to them directly. So it's totally up to you.
You've hit on something which I do. I do quite a lot actually. I don't just connect with the person that I want to speak to. I connect with the other stakeholders, the people that might be around them as well. Um, so if I'm going to be speaking at an event, the person I really want to speak to is the person who's organising the event, the person who controls the budget for the event. But what I also want to get to is the stage where if it comes up in a board meeting and someone says, "Oh, I'm thinking of speaking to that Stefan Thomas," if the HR director, if I've connected with them as well, or the finance director, or whoever it happens to be, if they sit in the board meeting and say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that guy," there's no downside to me in being connected, not just with the one person I want to speak to, but also with the other people around them as well. And LinkedIn can help you do that, can't it? It can help you to get you to the other stakeholders who might not be the decision maker, but they might be the person who influences the decision maker.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you just nailed it. Like, if you connect with people that talk to the person that you want to work with as well, I mean, that stuff can happen. And we know that this stuff can happen because you can track who views your profile on LinkedIn. So you can see that maybe, like you said, the HR director was just checking you out, and other of their team members might be checking you out. And if more than two people from the company has gone to your profile on LinkedIn in a very short amount of time, it means something's happening. They're talking about you, they're considering working with you, or they're at least going to your website and checking out what you do. So, I mean, you've nailed it.
I do that. Um, I'm just putting it up in front of me now to see if we've got anything. But I look at who's been looking at my profile on LinkedIn. I do that all the time to see who's been checking me out, because if I've approached someone to work with them, I make absolutely sure that I look out for. I talk about buying signals, Michael, because for me, sometimes if I've been trying to get in touch with a particular company and all of a sudden three of them have looked at my profile on the same day, I will take the opportunity to use that as a gateway to actually then moving forward with a proper conversation, maybe sending them an email, maybe even putting in a phone call to them, because it strikes me that at that point, if they're looking at my profile, then they must be thinking about me just in the same way as back, where are we now? 40 years ago, my God. 40 years ago, if someone picked up a pair of shoes in the shop that I was working in and was looking at them, I would take that opportunity to walk up to the person and say, "Is that the pair of shoes you're looking for, or do you need me to get you a different size?" And start that conversation with them, because I knew they were starting to show interest. And we can use the tools that we've got to see when people are starting to show interest in us, can't we?
Absolutely. I mean, now there are so many tools. I mean, on LinkedIn, you can see if somebody viewed your profile. There are certain tools you can use for your website to see who's viewing your website. I mean, marketing tech is insane these days. So you can definitely track a lot of things, and you can even remarket to those people in different ways. So retarget them. So, yes, you could definitely do that.
I think the bit about it being a gateway is the bit that people miss a lot of the time. And I know, because we're running towards the end of time, which is a real shame because I'm enjoying talking to you. We've been talking for quite a long time now. If you've been watching us and you're not already connected with Michael, then go and connect with Michael Sterling and talk to him about outreach. And if you need to grow your business and you're really good at what you do, but you need some help in actually speaking to people who want to buy what you do, then definitely connect with Michael and actually talk to him about working with him. Just to rewind right back to the beginning of the conversation, who's your ideal client, Michael? Who are the sorts of companies that you work really well with?
Definitely. So I work with people that already have a small team. So normally, agencies and B2B service providers I work with, they already have about 3 to 10 people, maybe more sometimes in their business. So normally they already have taken on a hat of the business owner and the person who's responsible for bringing new potential clients, and they just want to grow their business, hire more people, and they're really focused on it, and they understand that it takes time to develop new business. And so normally, like I said, anybody who provides some sort of service to other businesses and is already at that point where they want to start growing it, they want to start hiring more people, and they need to have some new clients in order to achieve their goal.
If if you have any questions after we've finished this, if you want to connect with Michael, do so. I've put a link to his LinkedIn profile in the comments below. But if you've got any more questions of Michael, even if you're watching this on replay, do pop them in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer them, and I'll always tag Michael in. Have you got any quick tips before we wrap up the conversation, Michael, for what people should do if they're thinking about using outreach, if they're thinking about doing it themselves, or if they're thinking about engaging someone like you to do it? What should people do first? Where should they start?
Yes, I think one of the things I wanted to add is that outbound marketing is not the only marketing tool. Like I think best companies have a combination of inbound marketing and outbound marketing. So it's not just about outbound. You should be doing multiple things you should have multiple avenues to get new clients and land new projects. And then in terms of starting with outreach, I think I would start with defining who your ideal client is, how you can reach them. Is there anybody who can introduce you? Is there anybody that maybe you have something in common with? So just define commonalities, define who your client is, and then go for it and add some volume to what you do. Again, if you're going to reach out to 8 people in a month, nothing probably is going to happen. So just go out there and connect with some people.
Thank you ever so much for spending time with us this afternoon, Michael. Do you know what? It's one of those things where I thought I knew you pretty well, but I've learned so much about what you do this afternoon that I didn't already know. Um, and you really do know your stuff. If anyone's just catching the end of this, wait a few minutes for it to be on replay and rewind and watch all of it because Michael's given some absolute gems in there. Thanks for spending some time with us this afternoon, Michael. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, my pleasure. And all the best to everybody who's listening.
I'm just going to do my thing and I'm going to take us off live on LinkedIn. Like I said earlier, if you've got any